And well, we have some breaking news coming in right at the top of the bulletin. In the horrific gang rape case and the violence hit Manipur, well, in which 2 women were paraded naked and stripped and gang raped at the peak of the violence, the 2 women survivors have now reached the Supreme Court. They have filed a petition, and the hearing in the top court will also be held today. The CJI-led bench will be hearing this particular petition, and this also after the Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance in the case, calling it simply unacceptable and the grossest of constitutional abuse. In fact, also asking the centre to take immediate steps. In fact, the Supreme Court had gone on to say that if the government doesn't act, we will. So in a very strong observation, the Supreme Court, in fact the CJI himself, took suo motu cognizance of the horrific gang rape case in Manipur. That video that sent shockwaves across the country, in which 2 women were in fact being seen stripped, paraded naked. They were gang raped as well, and this was at the peak of the ethnic violence there in Manipur. In fact, in this petition filed by the 2 women survivors, they've said that their identity should be respected, their identity should be kept discreet. And the 2 hearings will now happen today together is what we are being told. Of course, the Supreme Court had taken suo motu cognizance in this particular case earlier, and now the survivors have moved the top court. This is a significant development because remember, there's a lot of national outrage that we saw in this particular case. There was a lot of public sentiment now involved. Of course, sharp political reactions also coming in, with the opposition saying that the Prime Minister's silence shows his quote-unquote brazen indifference. In fact, the police complicity in this particular case was also something that was criticized. So this crucial hearing now in the top court today. In fact, the CJI-led bench will be hearing this particular case. And well, both the houses of the parliament are again expected to witness ruckus today over the Manipur violence. Since the start of the monsoon session on the 20th of July, there has been continuous disruption in the business hours of both the houses of the parliament. Total 9 bills have been listed in both the Rajya Sabha. And 5 in Rajya Sabha and 4 in the Lok Sabha, in fact. And the key bill is going to be the Delhi Ordinance Bill, the Delhi Services Bill, which will be replacing the Delhi Ordinance. That is going to be a key bill because that's something that's been a key political flashpoint between the centre and the opposition. And what we're being told is that the Delhi Services Bill will be tabled in Parliament today, and in fact the bill has already been circulated among the Lok Sabha MPs. The bill has been a major political flashpoint between the opposition and the centre. The bill, once passed, will give civil servants, the centre in fact complete control over civil servants in the national capital. The question also is whether the bill, when passed, will actually be able to get passed in Rajya Sabha or not. The government does not have majority there, but has the numbers stacked up in its favour.
विपक्षी दलों के जो माननीय 21 सांसद मणिपुर गए, मेरा उनसे अनुरोध है सदन चलेगा, चर्चा में भाग लें और आकर अपना अनुभव भी बताएं। और उस समय जब कांग्रेस की सरकारें थी, जब 6-6 महीने क्या साल भर मणिपुर बंद रहता था, जलता था, सैकड़ों लोगों की हत्याएं हो जाती थी, लेकिन उस समय के प्रधानमंत्री, उस समय के गृह मंत्री ने कभी सदन में कोई बयान भी नहीं दिया। तो इनको तो लंबा अनुभव उस समय का है जब इनकी सरकारें थी, और ये कोई कदम भी नहीं उठाते थे, ना ही ये कोई बयान देते थे।
So, well, the Manipur issue will, of course, come up in Parliament. But, as I said earlier, the Delhi Services Bill will also be tabled by the centre in Parliament today. And the bill is set to replace the Delhi Ordinance. And that will give the centre, through the Lieutenant Governor, complete control over civil servants and bureaucrats and bureaucracy, really, in the national capital. Arvind Kejriwal has been rallying the opposition as far as this particular ordinance is concerned. In fact, now the India Alliance has really come together to oppose the Delhi Services Bill in Parliament. In Rajya Sabha, the government does not have the majority, but numbers are stacked up in favour of the government, given the fact that Jagan Mohan's YSR Congress actually supported, in fact, extended its support to the BJP, to the central government as far as this particular bill is concerned. And what now sources are telling NDTV is that this bill has already been circulated among Lok Sabha MPs and will be tabled by the centre in Parliament today. Now, what really are the 5 bills listed in Rajya Sabha today? Well, it's the Biological Diversity Amendment Bill 2023. The Forest Conservation Amendment Bill is also listed. The Mediation Bill, the Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill, which will be tabled by Anurag Thakur, the Minister for INB, and also the Advocates Amendment Bill has also been listed. My colleague Megha Prasad is now joining us on the phone line. Megha, what is the legislative business that is actually listed for today? Take us through that. And of course, the focus will be on the Delhi Services Bill, because that is something that's been a key political flashpoint between the centre and the opposition. How is the centre actually going to go about introducing that contentious bill in Parliament?
Well, as far as introduction is concerned, it's a simple process. So you would have Mr. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, introduce the bill in the lower house today. As far as the debate on that bill is concerned, whether it is to be discussed today or not, and then when it is to be, brought in for being passed, that indication, that clarity, we don't still have. But just the very fact that it will be introduced today, and that the government has made it quite clear that today is the day that they would be bringing in this bill, you would have a lot of fireworks around this. In this entire session, when we were talking about the new bills and the old pending bills, I think this was the most contentious so far out of the entire list that the government has with them. So you should expect a lot of disruptions again. So today, basically, the opposition will have one more reason to not let the House function. Till this time, every single day, I don't think even on one day, the opposition has cooperated. As far as the functioning of the government is concerned, of the House is concerned, and their demand has been the same from day one, which is a discussion on Manipur, where Prime Minister speaks, and they are going to continue with that. Add to it the fact that you had this all-party delegation of the opposition parties who have visited Manipur over the weekend. They have gone and met the governor also, submitted a memorandum also, and now they are back. They are back after meeting the victims of the violence, meeting the people who are there in those shelter homes. And they have made quite a few points about how they think the entire government machinery, both at the state and the centre, has failed.
Right.
And that, people are still suffering, and there's an uncertain future that they are looking at. So all of it put together, I think we should be looking at another really acrimonious day in the Parliament today.
That's right, and the opposition will continue to raise the Manipur issue. This, as you rightly pointed out, Megha, 21 MPs of the opposition alliance, the India Alliance, actually visited Manipur. In fact, the MPs returned from their 2-day visit in Manipur. And they also briefed the governor. They met the governor, in fact, and submitted a memorandum saying that the Prime Minister's indifference is apparent. The Prime Minister's silence shows his brazen indifference, and also said that there is a complete breakdown of law and order. They, of course, also visited relief centers as well. Sunil Prabhu is now joining us on the phone line. Sunil sir, in the memorandum was pretty strongly worded. They said that the Prime Minister's indifference is apparent. They also talked about how mistrust is growing because of the internet shutdown. What is the opposition strategy going ahead? Will they continue to raise this issue in Parliament?
Well, they'll firstly brief all political parties and their leaders, the floor leaders on the floor of the House, and will continue, as you rightly pointed out, to raise the concerns about Manipur and the indifference, as you say, of the Prime Minister and the government towards what has happened in that northeastern state. It's in that backdrop that they've used one of their most strategic weapons, the no confidence motion, to get the Prime Minister to speak in Parliament, and today will be the date where the decision on when that discussion will take place sometime this week. There are, of course, huge issues and concerns that the opposition have on a host of other issues, but they feel that, as there's a parliamentary convention and procedure, that no substantive motion should be taken up for discussion when a no-confidence motion is there. But today, parliamentary propriety and decorum and practices are not the norm, and in that context, we'll have to wait and see when the no-confidence motion is taken. What we have been told is it will be taken up this week, and hopefully with that, they will be able to take things forward, and hopefully with some breakthrough in this, in the fact that there will at least be a debate and discussion on the floor of the House.
Right, so we'll continue to witness that standoff between the India alliance, the opposition alliance and the centre over the Manipur issue. This as the opposition has been demanding the Prime Minister's statement on the floor of the House as far as Manipur is concerned. But moving now, at least 44 people were killed and at least 200 injured by a bomb blast at a political gathering of an Islamic party in northwest Pakistan. The blast targeted the Jamiat Ulema Islam Fazl party when more than 400 members and supporters gathered under a tent in the town of Khar near the border with Afghanistan. Now, images from the blast site circulating on social media showed bodies strewn around the scene and volunteers helping blood-soaked victims to ambulances. No group has so far claimed responsibility for the attack, but the local chapter of the ISIS group has recently carried out attacks against the Jamiat Ulema Islam and of course its head cleric as well, somebody who has been politically extremely controversial.
Star Rashid, Zama Rashid, Abdul Rashid, Abdul Rashid. Star Rashid, Zama Rashid.
So it was complete chaos that followed that blast. Short break now, news and updates continue on the other side.
Welcome back. Well, in a major development, the Mizoram government, following an instruction from the Union Home Ministry, has also decided to start the process of collecting biometric details of Myanmar nationals staying in the state since February 2021. But our sources added that the process might not be completed by September, as requested by the centre, as around 35,000 Myanmar nationals have taken refuge in Mizoram since 2021 February, after the Myanmar military, following a coup, took over the governance. Rathadeep joins us with a quick update on the matter. Rathadeep, now the process of recording biometric data of these Myanmar nationals will be launched in all 11 districts from this week?
Yes, in fact, it is it has already kind of started from last Saturday, but to be very honest, from this week it will gather pace, and that's what we have been told by a senior official of Mizoram Home Department. Now, this is in compliance of the centre's letter to the Mizoram government and Manipur government. They had written a letter on June 22nd to get the biometric details of the suspected illegal immigrants from Myanmar or the migrants from Myanmar. Remember, in Mizoram already there are 35,000 of them, and Mizoram has documented them. Mizoram has given them ID card with their photographs. So Mizoram has got a database. Remember, Mizoram has government, including the chief minister, their MPs have been writing to centre to basically give the Myanmar migrants who are from the same state of Myanmar refugee status, which centre has not agreed as of now. In fact, centre had asked the Mizoram to deport them, but Mizoram is of the opinion that they should be given humanitarian aid and shelter at this moment, and this is largely because the Chin community of Myanmar and the Mizos have a very strong historical linkage, and therefore Mizoram is starting this process. And it seems that since they have a database, they might be able to complete it within the stipulated time of September. But sources say that might take time. But for Manipur, the matter is more complex because Manipur doesn't have a database, and already they have the state government only has a database of over 2,000 people.
As always, Ratnadeep, thank you so much for joining us with that quick update. In other news, as part of its minority outreach ahead of 2024, the BJP has been steadily increasing its representation of Muslims in its organisation. In fact, on Saturday, it appointed former VC of Aligarh Muslim University Tariq Mansoor as one of its vice presidents, a year after it elevated Abdullah Kuti to the post. This can be seen as an attempt to increase its acceptability in the community. Vasudha Venugopal has this report.
One of the most interesting appointments made by the BJP as part of its organizational rejig on Saturday was the appointment of Tariq Mansoor, the former Vice-Chancellor of the Aligarh Muslim University, as one of its Vice Presidents. Mr. Mansoor comes from the Pasmanda community of Muslims. Pasmandas are basically non-ashrafs or non-upper caste, mostly Dalit and OBC Muslims. Remember, caste is a pan-India phenomenon, sometimes cutting across communities as reiterated by experts. Pasmandas is also a community that the BJP has been trying to woo for the last many years because the party believes that the Pasmandas among all Muslims are more inclined towards voting for the BJP because of its welfare schemes. Mr. Mansoor was also the Vice-Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University when it was witnessing the most controversial anti-CAA protests. While student bodies had criticized Mr. Mansoor for not standing up for their rights, the ruling establishment had also praised him for ensuring that the protest did not go out of control. Mr. Mansoor was also part of the RSS project to promote the teachings of Mughal Prince Dara Shikoh on the peaceful coexistence of Hindus and Muslims. He is not the only one to be appointed at a senior post in the BJP in the last few years. Last year it was Abdullah Kuti, another Muslim from the southern state of Kerala. Mr. Abdullah Kuti has been with the CPM and the Congress earlier, and throughout his career at various points he has praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi's model of governance, be it in Gujarat or at the centre. Now, the BJP's appointments with respect to Muslims comes with a larger message. It's trying to tell the community ahead of 2024 that it is looking at them not just for their votes, but it's also willing to give them some place in its decision-making processes. Remember, Narendra Modi time and again in BJP meetings has reiterated the importance of building Bharose Ka Rishta with the minority community and has asked his party men and women to reach out to the minorities in particular. Mr. Modi has also, during his recent Bhopal rally, reiterated the importance of reaching out to the Pasmanda Muslims. He in fact listed out all the communities that have been rendered voiceless in the last few years. In Egypt, he actually made it a point to visit the 11th century mosque rebuilt by the Dawoodi Bohra community. Dawoodi Bohras are a minuscule minority community in India that shares a close relationship with the Prime Minister. Now, how is the opposition looking at this? The minority cell of the BJP is active. We see more spokespersons from the BJP now. But the opposition is actually picking up issues such as those related to the Uniform Civil Code, and also has pointed out to the BJP's Pasmanda outreach as a divisive attempt. It's basically saying that the UCC, the proposed UCC, is basically an attempt to dilute the unique identity of the Muslims. But in the run-up to 2024, as the opposition gets ready to fight as a bloc of 26 parties, the Muslim vote, which is a key factor in deciding many seats in the states of West Bengal, Assam, UP, Delhi and even Bihar, this Muslim vote is going to get critical, and the approach and the outreach of efforts made by both BJP and the opposition will be keenly looked at.
Let's take a quick look at the top stories from around the world. Now, becoming the third Indian origin candidate to have thrown his hat into the ring for the US presidency in 2024, Indian-American engineer Harshvardhan Singh announced his candidature from the Republican Party. The other two candidates from the community are Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy, also from the same party. Here's our report.
Indian-American engineer Harshvardhan Singh has announced his bid for the White House. The 38-year-old is the latest to join the pool of Republican candidates. Singh claims to be an American-first conservative and a lifelong Republican.
There is an all-out attack on American family values, parental rights, and the marketplace of ideas and open debate. We need strong leadership to reverse the changes that have occurred in the past few years and restore American values.
The two other Indian Americans are already in the presidential race, Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. Haley was South Carolina's first female minority governor. She says it's time for a new generation to lead the country.
It's time for a new generation of leadership to rediscover fiscal responsibility, secure our border, and strengthen our country, our pride, and our purpose.
Ramaswamy is a businessman largely funding his own campaign. If elected, He would be the youngest president in the United States history.
We're skating on thin ice as a country right now. I think we may be heading on our way to a national divorce. I'm running for president because I care about a national revival instead.
10 years ago, Indians were barely represented in US politics. Today, there are 5 Indian Americans in the Congress, around 50 in state legislatures, an Indian American vice president, and 3 running for the 2024 presidential race. With Chavi Mehra, Bureau Report, NDTV.